First of all, I'd like to thank Deputy Catherine Murphy for raising this. It is an important debate, and this is a hugely important project. And I think the Deputy recognised that. And I think it's worth recalling the programme for government, where it set out that one of the biggest challenges facing rural Ireland is to bridge the digital divide with urban areas and to remedy this situation for at least the next 25 years. And that was the ambition, that we need to have next generation broadband for every household and business in the country. And that was the purpose of the National Broadband Plan. And it is a very ambitious plan to do that, because it involves reaching 100% of the houses and premises in the intervention area. And a high level of broadband speed was specified, a minimum of 30 megabits per second. So that was a high standard was expected to be set, and it did require that the same charges as would apply in urban, that would be the objective to achieve. So that it is designed to achieve exactly what you say, that access to a network would be available to people in the intervention area on the same basis as it would be available to anyone else. The other feature of it was to be delivered over a 25-year period. Normally when we approach capital projects, we say, how much will it cost to lay it down? And people would say, okay, the investment is X. But what this is saying is, this is an entirely uncommercial area. So everything commercial was carved out. And what's to be delivered here is not just to create the infrastructure, but to create it and operate it over a long period of 25 years, to future-proof it over that period, and to maintain it as, if you like, take-up developed over that period. So, what we have sought to achieve here is ambition, but in my view, rural Ireland will remain marginalised if it cannot participate in the sort of cloud-based services that we're going to have, if it's not going to be able to participate in remote services that are undoubtedly going to deliver, if it can't be part of the Internet of Things, which is rapidly changing the way in which people consume information and control their own lives. So I believe that the ambition is absolutely right, and I think you've recognised that. The choice of competitive dialogue was also important in my view, because I think you rightly recognise that the state came to this not with a ready-made solution designed in Adelaide Road. This was about getting the best thinking in the environment available to us to come forward with ideas to solve it. And as you know, 5 people did come through. Many of them made bids, but as you rightly say, 2 of those bids were withdrawn and only 1 remained. I think you are correct to say that we would have preferred if there was a competitive, more than one continuing right through to the end of the process. But because it was only 1 bidder, we have had to take a lot more due diligence and care about overseeing what has been submitted. And I know you and others are critical that we're not making a decision quicker. But I think the very fact that we have had to approach this in a far more rigorous way, assessing not just the technology that is being put forward, but the cost at a hugely granular level, going right down into the cost structure to understand what's being bid for and to contest, if you like, the bid on a very close hand-to-hand basis. That has been required by the fact that there's only 1 bidder. I think it's also important to remember that part of the rules of the competitive dialogue was that it could only be the state could only support through the competitive dialogue connections that were deemed not to be commercial. And as you know, originally a much bigger intervention area with many more premises were there, but Air indicated that it believed it could commercially roll those out. And in a sense, and I know it irritates some people to say this, that the national broadband process resulted in the commercial sector stepping up to the plate and recognising that if they wanted to supply commercially, they had to make their move, and they did make their move. And as at the latest, I know that of the 300,000, I think we're well over 66% of those are delivered, and they are continuing. So, the fact of the process has stimulated the private sector, where we now have, I think it's close to 75% have high-speed broadband. You are critical of Peter Smith's approach, but I think he approached this with great rigour, and I think he was the right person to do it. He was a man who understood the process from the very start. He understood what it was that he was there to ensure the integrity of the process. And he approached that, I believe, in the right way. And he looked at 4 tests: whether the Minister was privy to sensitive information, whether he took any decisions within the process that benefited Granahan McCourt, was he in a position to influence changes in the tender documents particularly, was he in a position to influence the evaluation of the submissions. And in all cases he found that he was not in a position, and his conclusions are robust. He's satisfied that neither the former Minister nor Mr McCourt had the opportunity to influence the conduct of the tender process in favour of Granahan McCourt or otherwise. And he also said that while it was a cause for concern that these meetings took place, he said that he believed that the decision of the former Minister to resign, thereby removing himself from the process, insulated the process from any apparent bias created by his engagements with Mr McCourt. So I think that was a very strong finding from Peter Smith, and he has attended the Oireachtas committee. He has, I think he's been made himself available to explain how he reached his conclusion, and I strongly believe he was the right person to do that. You raised the issue of the MANs and the way that has occurred, and I know that you have been critical of the decision made before my time to extend the contract that they had for the first period to the second period, which was envisaged in the first. I can assure you that what you ask, we will learn from anything that is to be learned from the MANS process, and I'm determined to do that. I only recently received the MANS report, and I'm currently considering it, and I will publish it shortly and take whatever steps are appropriate. And I also will ensure that any lessons that can be learned from that process will be learnt in the conduct, should it be the project be approved, of the National Broadband Plan. I can also assure you that, that we do have accurate mapping of those that can provide speeds of the level. And as you know, you have the commercial providers have carved out their area, leaving the amber areas, which we will provide for. And those amber areas, although they contain, I think, only 23% of the population, they cover 96% of the landmass. So in terms of reach, we have to reach an area that is 80 times less dense in terms of customer density than the area which is commercially provided. So it is a challenging area. You asked that there be an honest debate about the cost of providing to people, and I believe that the ambition to achieve 100% reach is the right ambition. I don't think we should be leaving or deciding that we will leave some of our population behind, that some people will be marginalised from the opportunities in health or in education or other evolving policies that the state will and others will develop that require high-speed access. So I think it is right that we aim to deliver to that ambition. I understand that people, are rightly wanting assurance, and I can give the assurance that we will not be just pushing ahead, because to start again would be what did Shakespeare say? To return were more difficult than go o'er. We will, whatever decision is taken, will be taken on the grounds that this is in the best interest of delivering the sort of service at a technology that's robust at an appropriate cost. And that is why the time is being taken to evaluate what has been submitted, to ensure that the technology is robust, to ensure that we can put in place the proper governance, that we have the checks and balances within the contract that protect the taxpayer and the user, the subsequent, the potential users for the future. So, I appreciate the concern, and I can assure you that I am taking the sort of concerns that you've expressed, and I know other deputies will express, extremely seriously, in order that whatever way this decision goes, we will make the decision with the best information available to us.
Thank you, Minister. Now, Deputy